Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Johnny Sky, Executive Director of RISE, and give you a little insight. That's ensuring the educational success of children with incarcerated parents. It is Johnny's first time on the show, so first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sean.
Tell us about RISE.
Well, RISE is a Providence-based, state-serving nonprofit that started about 18 years ago. Our mission is to ensure the educational success of children with incarcerated parents. We do that through a variety of strategies. We have a competitive scholarship program to increase access to private or parochial schools that families or young people wouldn't otherwise be able to attend. We have a mentoring program that supports young people through community volunteers, give them opportunities to have experiences and see vistas that they might otherwise not have access to. We provide a range of learning supports and extensions. If young people need tutors, we either can refer them to opportunities, SAT prep classes, that kind of thing. Sometimes we provide ourselves, but we also build opportunities to extend and to create vision for young people, like college tours and entrepreneurship classes and that kind of thing.
So, you know, you can have incarcerated parents, but that doesn't mean that you can't do all the regular things in life that any kid would be able to do.
Well, you know, so the unique issue with this population, there are a couple things. I mean, we know from research that young people who have parents who've been incarcerated are 6 times more likely to end up in the juvenile justice system themselves. We're not working with kids who are in trouble, we're trying to prevent the trouble. And the theory of our work is that education is the most compelling protective factor for young people who are at risk of poor life outcomes. You know, poor outcomes in physical, mental health, poor educational, low levels of educational attainment. You know, ending up living a life in poverty, desperation, you know, falling into addiction, and ultimately crime. So what we try to do is we say, and based on research and what we know, what the evidence teaches us, is that young people who have access to high quality, engaging, rigorous, and character-based educational experiences are more likely to graduate high school, go on to college, and ultimately be empowered to make better decisions for their own lives.
Tell me how it all came about, how it was decided one day that this was necessary, there was a need for it.
Okay, it started with a couple Brown University-affiliated doctors, Dr. Kevin Vigilani and Dr. Tim Flanagan. They were about 20 years ago doing some pretty progressive work at the time in the women's prison. It was kind of a wraparound HIV model of care that they were working out. They're infectious disease docs. And while they were there working with the women, became particularly compelled about the outcomes and the life course of their children. Sat back, did some research, really thought about it, and started RISE initially as a scholarship program. At the time, really small, engaging, high-quality learning environments were often outside the public schools. Today, the landscape is much different. We have charters and other types of opportunities for young people, but there's still a range of opportunities, and some young people do need these types of environments and are lacking access just basically due to finances. The incarceration isn't just an emotional, it's not just an emotional issue for young people. It's often an access issue because the economy of the family does get hit as a result, and the stresses are increased.
Is the statistical background of this situation unique or different in Rhode Island compared to either other parts of the country or even maybe in the Northeast? How is it unique in Rhode Island at all?
Not necessarily. The Pew Charitable Trust, the most recent report came out saying that, looking at the collateral damage of mass incarceration in America, and concluded that 1 in 28 children will have a parent incarcerated at some point during their developmental years. It's pretty intense. It's actually a higher rate than our rate of autism, and we know a lot about the impact that autism has on our schools and our communities and on families. Rhode Island Kids Count reported in this past year that there were 4,000 children with parents incarcerated in the state. We far from meet that need. It's very likely that that number is much greater. Many times families won't report because there might be a parent out who are receiving benefits that would be compromised. But what we do know is that we have 4,000 children who are growing up without a parent. Those young people and families are concentrated in urban areas. As we know, that's where the highest concentration of poverty is and where sometimes the worst decisions get made along the way. Not everything is a bad decision. I mean, it's really complex, and what we find in our work is that every family and every child has a completely unique story, and our work is really one-on-one in particular and unique to each situation.
And it has to be, doesn't it? I mean, you couldn't just gather a bunch of people into a room and say, here's how we're going to fix it.
Right. I mean, people always ask why this population, why these folks? And You know, it's really hard to generalize. There's some themes, I would say. One is a distrust for authority, which is compelling. Any way that we need to engage in society, we have some kind of systems of authority and power that we have to negotiate, regardless of what we know are not fair and right about some of the way our systems work. But somehow when a young person from a very early age says, no one's there for me and no one's there to protect me, it makes it much more difficult to navigate systems and find a way to, pathway through society and maintain your health and perseverance.
The key thing in all this is, like you say, it's almost a mantra of yours to break the cycle. You don't want it to be the next generation to go through the same thing again and just kind of be a continuation of that.
Right. There's so much that we know now about the intergenerational legacy or the genetic memory, how trauma passes down from generation to generation, how it debilitates us, how we end up in situations where we can only see what we know, and that's a limited landscape. So yes, we definitely believe, and our work has actually proven that with some extra support, scaffolding, inspiration, opportunity, access, young people, one of my other things I say often is that no one decides the skin they're born in, or the family they're born in, or the city, or the place on the earth. And that doesn't change the fact that every young person comes in with dreams and aspirations. What the difference between us is really our access to opportunity. And RISE is about saying, we're not going to let your circumstances be the barrier to your potential. We're going to try to come in and do what we can to shore up those pieces that might not be helping you get where you need to go so that you can get there.
RISE has been around for a while, hasn't it?
We're 18 years old.
Wow.
Yep. We're actually already starting to plan our 20th anniversary.
All right.
It's very exciting.
Well, you got 2 years out. You got to start planning.
You got to start planning now. That's right. Yeah.
So it's changed a little, or maybe a lot, since its humble beginnings. We did a RISE interview about 3 years ago or so, and we had a board member on at that point. But now we're at the point where you've got you've got a person that just handles writing grants, or a fundraising person.
That's right.
So it's grown.
We've actually, like most life journeys and relationships, you kind of build and you retract, and you build and you retract. And we had some financial troubles around to the 2008 recession crash.
Yeah, did that affect you?
It did. We
Yeah.
had and every nonprofit in Rhode Island.
Yes.
We had a large dependent on individual donors whose wealth all of a sudden looked very different, and we're more nervous. And Rhode Island is so nonprofit heavy. We have too many.
Yes.
And everybody's kind of pulled to say what matters. So there was no question that there was a retract, and we're now in the build back up place. So we do have a full-time development director who's actually came back. She was the first executive director of RISE. She founded the organization.
Wow.
Along with the 2 doctors. So that's very exciting. So her heart's into it, and she knows all of the families from the past. It's a wonderful thing. Kristen Hoffenreffer. We have 2 AmeriCorps Vistas coming on to help us refine our program model and get our data system cleaned up, and help us really refine the work that we're doing, in relation to the evidence in the field. And then we have an academic coordinator, Caitlin Fioranzano, she just got married. It's Caitlin Delagrata. Who looks out over our scholarship program, scholarship students.
Weren't you approached recently about a big grant that you're participating in, or something along those lines?
We were, and we have been, yeah. I mean, aside from the AmeriCorps Vista, there's a National Technical Assistance Group called MENI, who works just with youth service organizations nationally, does a lot of technical assistance for larger federal grants, and they actually put in a multi-state mentoring grant that it looks 99.8% sure they've been awarded. Yeah, that will give us funds to match 180 children with 180 mentors.
Wow, that's
over
fantastic.
The next 2 years, which is amazing. We have 100 students on our waiting list right now, and can't meet the needs. So
what do they do in the meantime? Are you able to refer them elsewhere, or really is there anywhere else for them to go?
Well, there are other mentoring organizations. We're the only ones specifically focused on this population. I mean, Big Brothers Big Sisters obviously is here. Their model's a little bit different, and but if it's something specific like that, I think what happens with RISE is because we're small and intimate, we attract a certain kind of family and a certain set of families that kind of know about us through relationships and experiences they've had with their nieces or nephews who benefited from the program. So there's kind of a specific interest in RISE as an entity on its own. We also, because we don't get state or federal money, we kind of operate in a kind of a quasi. We're not the man, back to the authority issue.
Right.
We're kind of just a group of concerned community members who believe that together, we can actually improve and build up vulnerable children and make life better for all of us.
Getting back to the recession, and I know that was tough for everybody, but I found that even, and this is speaking just on individual donors, but even during those tough times, they're able to reach into their pocket and give something, even if it's not, high on their list of availability or priority. They're still able to give something or help out, especially if they believe in it.
Yes, it's true, and there are a couple sides to that. Does everybody know about Rise?
Right.
Do they really know what we're doing, how we do it, what we're about?
You got to get the
So
word out.
we've got to work on getting the word out, and I think that those things were kind of also a little bit compromised during that period of time. The other thing that we started last year was our first crowdfunding campaign, which is very exciting. The Kickstarter,
Yeah, all that.
those kind of things.
All
Yeah.
online, right?
Yeah, the online thing, where you pitch and you set a deadline and you can encourage $5, $10 donations. Initially when we were working it out, I did a little math and found out that if 10% of Rhode Islanders gave $10, we'd have 1 million plus.
Wow. But the key to that is getting the word out, right?
Right, exactly. So
the internet helps because, especially social media, because that's where people are and they can be interactive on it. So you need to be where the people are, I guess, right?
Right. That's it. And as we get healthier and grow our capacity, it's always that kind of chicken egg with getting the word out. I don't want to floodgate the doors and then let everybody down.
Right, because you just said a little while ago you're already on a 100 kid waiting list.
Yeah.
So if you get the word out anymore, what's going to happen?
Yeah, then I'm going to disappoint people, and I'm really committed to Rise not disappointing people.
Can
not
you
letting people down.
expand?
We can with funding again.
Right.
It's human work, so we need staff to be able to. You can only manage so many young people and families at a time. Well. And so, the more staff we have, the more opportunity we have to really grow that capacity.
Is there much interaction between you and the other agencies that you spoke of as far as in any way, shape, or form being able to help or a referring process, or not so much?
We haven't referred exactly. I think we will speak to families who are frustrated about other opportunities in the community if they do want to try something else. I definitely communicate with heads of other, with Foster Forward and Big Brothers Big Sisters, the Providence Children's Youth Council. I sit on that and work with this smaller group called Evidence to Success, looking at how you can use evidence-based programs to solve kind of community issues. So there's a lot of collaboration, and certainly we do refer when we can. We don't provide services. We don't have social workers on staff. So,
Right.
We're, again, prevention.
Right.
And we're focused on education. So we're not trying to do it all.
Right.
We're trying to do this
Focus.
one thing. Yeah, we're doing this one thing. So there's no question that we have to collaborate. In the past, we've had College Visions come in and help with college applications for our students. We had this group called Truepreneurs, which is a new group in town that's trying to look at teaching entrepreneurship skills through T-shirt design and then getting students, selling them for a cause.
Right.
That was interesting. So they did some work with us. We try to be as fluid as we can and engage as much as we can in the community.
Good time to take a break. Johnny Sky is the Executive Director of Rise. We will take a break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. Johnny Sky is the Executive Director of Rise. Learned a lot, got a lot more to get to in this segment. First of all, I want to have you give out the website because we didn't get a chance to do that going into the stop set. So what is the website?
Okay. The website is www.riseonline.org.
What's on the website for people to see?
There's information about our program components, our board, our kind of theory of action, but there's also a big donate button.
Of course.
That you're welcome to press and help support our work.
And we'll get into like the end of year appeal and stuff like
Yes,
that a little
okay,
later
great.
on in the show. One thing I wanted to get to is, I guess the word I'm looking for is perception. And I know we kind of use the word angles a little bit too, just about a person's perception, maybe like in their community, not understanding and therefore maybe not being as supportive because they don't get what you're trying to do.
Right.
There's sort of a negative perception maybe?
Well, sometimes I don't think it's really specific to Rhode Island or to Rise
That's
or
true.
Providence. I think that growingly, it seems increasingly, with everything that we're understanding that's coming more into the media, there's I think a tendency to blame the individual. And I think people are exhausted with what they feel like are handouts that don't go anywhere, and they see these cycles of poverty continue and continue. And one of the things that we try to really speak clearly about is that education is not It's not a meal, or it's not a winter coat. It's an opportunity for someone to actually get out of the cycle and to be self-determined and lead a healthy life of their own making. So we really believe that what we're doing is, yes, helping individuals and helping families, but also improving the quality of our communities, improving the quality of our karma even. I think as we help each other, we help ourselves.
And I believe in that too. I actually believe, good karma, bad karma, how you do unto others, so to speak. I believe in that,
Yeah. Wonderful. I mean, I do too. I don't know, sometimes I don't know what else to do. As long as I leave the house with, good feelings in my heart, I try to be kind, I can go to sleep peacefully at night. And it's difficult. I think sometimes the problems, social problems we're facing in this country feel so overwhelming that folks either close down or they throw their hands up or they get angry. They don't know what to do. Rise really is providing solutions. If you invest in Rise, we invest in the community, and together we rise together.
Well, let's get a little bit more specific about the model then, so people, because
Okay.
it was kind of an overview of it, but let's really get into the minutia of it.
Okay. So basically, we are a single point of entry. So young people come, we find out what the scenarios of their family. Every family's got a different set of circumstances. We understand the nature of the incarceration, who's been incarcerated. Maybe there's a family legacy of incarceration. And then we look at the young person and try to assess their interests, needs, understand what the family is really looking for, and then try to figure out what the best pieces of the program are suited to meet the needs. One of the pieces I didn't talk about earlier, so like I said, there's a competitive scholarship program. Better funded, we could give out a lot more scholarship. The scholarship model is $4,000 a year for 4 years for a tuition-bearing high school. We are able to honor about 15% of our applications, unfortunately.
And how do you decide? Is it just that's a tough one?
It's
yeah.
a tough one. It is a tough one.
And it's a judgment call, too.
It is a lot of judgment call. I mean, we think about we ask 8th grade students who are applying, they have to have been accepted to a tuition-bearing school to start.
Right.
They write an essay that talks about how the incarceration of their parent has impacted them and is driving them towards a higher level educational experience. And those essays are compelling. And
wow, really? You get good reading material
and
there.
a 13-year-old to be able to speak on these kinds of issues is, it's something.
Do they pour their heart and soul into these essays?
Oh, yes.
Is that right, really?
Oh, yes,
Wow.
definitely.
Wow.
Oh, no question.
Nothing but blunt honesty in those things.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're wrestling and they want to
Yeah.
make sense of their lives, and they really want something better. So you get all kinds of messages in there from, I want to do better than my dad. I want to be able to help my mom out. She's worked so hard being by herself. I want to prove that, I want to show them that I didn't have to make the same choices. Some of those kind of things that you could imagine, but also some really hard stories about never meeting a father or a mother, missing, from 4 years old, or or both, or just different family constructions, and I could go into more details, but they're compelling and difficult. So we look at that essay because that really talks, I think, a lot about the emotional health and maturity and the ability, because these young people are going into schools that don't look like their neighborhoods a lot of times.
Right.
And you need some perseverance and a little more backbone maybe to manage a unique kind of set of social and cultural norms that aren't yours.
So that essay is a big factor in determining whether the scholarship is going to be theirs or not, because you're really looking into their soul when you read these things.
Yes, definitely. And then we're also practical. So we look at how many children are in the home, how many people are bringing income in, what is that income level, what was the nature of incarceration, what's the length of the incarceration, was it a primary caregiver that was taken, and what the emotional impact was the child there, was there trauma involved in the actual arrest, whether there's visitation. And we look at kind of all the factors that kind of might increase the vulnerability, and match that up with the will and the drive. And it's heart-wrenching, honestly. We never give as many scholarships as we need to.
One other area I want to get into is family advocacy, because we talked a lot about the kid, but the family surrounding them, those that are available to be with them, that's an important factor in all this.
It is an important factor, and thanks for asking. Our mentoring program starts at 7 years old, while our scholarship program is high school. We really work with families through the whole 7 to 18, and support postgraduate involvement, and continue. We have an alumni network. Continue to stay involved. What is kind of a natural outcrop of our work is the relationships that we end up with caregivers. We have moms and dads and other types of caregivers come into our office regularly for help, for advice around filling out forms for school, to manage if there's a behavior problem at school, to help us look at a schedule. order books, figure out how to solve something online. Sometimes we have parents who come in and will want to learn a skill so that they can actually start employment, and will come in and give us community service hours, and we'll teach them how to run Microsoft or Excel or something like that, and build some skills and give them a reference.
Right. I mean, you can
So-
you make your resume that way. You
Right,
can,
and
you
we
know-
need help. So
Yeah.
it's a perfect model. Sometimes and then there's the soft stuff like we have our staff. We have a lot of families on our cell phone, and we'll get texts. Late at night. I had a call from a mom not too long ago who said, "I don't have anybody else to call, but my daughter just made the cheerleading team, and I'm so excited. I need to share." And I was in the Family Dollar buying bleach or something because I left the mop in the wrong place. And
Yeah.
so she was telling me about, bleach is great, and giving me advice on this. But so there's a kind of
They're engaged.
yeah, kind of a family. We're all with each other in it. We're trying to do the best for everybody, and that piece really is important. Some of our parents, some of our caregivers are nervous themselves about engaging with schools. So they'll call us, and we'll go in with them when they meet with the principal or the guidance counselor or whatever, so that we can help them navigate that experience. And that's really advocating for the best educational outcomes for their children is that's our mission.
It's a fact of life, but nonprofits, in order to provide the things that you're talking about, have to fundraise. That's just, aside from grants and, private donations and things, you have fundraising. And I think you're starting to do a little bit more of that now. And one of the things, I guess, I don't know if the end of the year appeal is the actual name that you're going with, but that's one of your big ones that's coming up, right?
Yes. It's a nonprofit standard. We try to get everybody who, has it in them to share their resources. To do it before the end of the year, so they can get their tax benefits. That's one of the perks. Of course, the karma perk is much bigger than that.
Right.
And I think the holidays always stir up an emotionalism in us. But we're heading into a wider campaign this year that's really about what has become clearer and clearer to me as I've been in this work, is that we really are a bridge-building community. From our sponsors to our donors to our mentors to our families to our students to our partner schools and our staff, we're constantly crossing class, race, lines all the time, and really loving each other well. It's almost the ultimate experience of a beloved community. So we're heading into a campaign that we're titling "Together We Rise." The idea is that if you invest in Rise, we invest in this community. You become part of it, and together we all get better. Together we rise. So that's what we're heading into. We'll be working that out through the end of December, and really hope that we can join. I really do believe that there are a lot of people who are concerned about these issues and concerned about the welfare of young people, and understand the power of education to really transform lives, that would join us in this effort. And it's not always about the big donors. $5, $10. We've seen it all over now with crowdfunding.
Yeah.
A lot of people doing a little bit because they say, sometimes to me when I see the money come in to the organization, to me it's not like another dollar. It's like, oh, someone else who's with us.
Right. You look at it that way.
Yeah. It's like, so we must be doing something right. We should be here. We have a community of people who support what we're doing. That really matters, and it keeps us going and keeps the work moving.
You got any corporate sponsors at this point?
We do. We've had incredible support from CVS Health for the
Good.
past 4 years.
They're big in Rhode Island as
They
far as
are.
helping out wherever they can.
They are. Their mission is really health, and so I think we're starting to bridge maybe a different direction they're going into, but they have been incredible to us. Ocean State Job Lot just made a huge contribution to our back to school event. We have the Rhode Island Foundation supports us. We have some foundation support, Nellie Mae Education Foundation up in Quincy. And we have some really large individual donors who understand what it means to not have access. Families who can send their kids to private school and know that there are young people just as quality as their own children who deserve the opportunity.
That end of year appeal, by the way, that and all the fundraisers, I'm sure all the information will be on your website. So if people are wondering more about that or any other
Yes.
fundraisers, they can go check that out on the website. You have a lot of passion in your voice. You really believe in it. I think you love your work and love going to work. What is the executive director's day like? Is every day different? What is it like?
Yeah. It's every day is different. I mean, I'm the finance and HR and program
PR.
quality and PR and
Yeah.
marketing and communications. Luckily, we now have development, although I'm still in that too. Ultimately, it's it's varied and it's eclectic and dynamic. I try to every day say, if I'm doing the best I can, that's all I can do. Sometimes it gets a little chaotic and it feels like I'm not getting anywhere, but I'm getting a little bit older now and have kind of rested this idea that if you come in with good and you flow with the river and you allow things to be and don't stress too much, that it kind of works out. And these last 3 years at Rise, since I've been executive director, have really been hard and so lovely. At the same time, we've really gotten ourselves into a healthier place, and we're moving forward in a really quality, thoughtful way. You know, I have a lot of respect, and I make sure my team has, you know, ultimate respect for the families that we work with. We don't judge anybody. We don't care what the circumstances are. If there's a barrier, we try to address the barrier, and that's it. And if we're not bringing some kind of positivity to the families we work with, then we're not doing our job right.
Well, I know you had mentioned, you know, getting the word out, so I hope that this was one small way that you kind of let the let Rhode Island, at the very least, in Massachusetts, know about Rise. And we learned a lot today, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.
Johnny Skye, Executive Director of Rise. This is our show for today. You can see it and many others on our YouTube site. Till next time, I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Take care.